It's the weekly 30-30 trading list on the ASX. We're reviewing the 30 best momentum companies over the last quarter and those that have had the best improvement in the last week, what we call the 30-30 list. Gary Glover has been through both of them to find opportunities to look at, the charts to dissect, and how it's helping us understand what's going on in the market. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, I'm excellent, Chris.
So when we look at this 30 list, the top 30 momentum and the top 30 launchpad, how do you see, looking at the quarterly, what lessons are you pulling out of the market from these top 30 momentum leaders?
The biggest lesson is that all the stocks that we looked at last week have been on fire this week. So, those lithium names had a little bit of a pop higher and they've sort of come back a little bit, but now they're sort of firming again. Talking about the gold stocks sort of starting to rise there last week. We'll say a few weeks in a row there, seeing the gold names. They've had a really big move there. There was a few other names we covered, like CMM, NST, PRU. We looked at ALQ. Obviously, we're talking about 360, some of those leading names. Virgin Money we talked about last week. That's just had a bid for them. And just some of those, all those sort of stronger names here are just all permeating just higher here. So I think 9 out of 10 stocks on the launch pad for gold stocks, and maybe 14 out of 15, top 15 are gold, or gold, at least some sort of gold action as well. So, it's a market sort of, this market's on fire here at the moment. It's amazing how hot it's running here. So, just don't need to look past the leaders here, Chris. That's probably, the thing I'd sort of keep sort of trying to resonate in my head here is, just stick with the leaders. Keep asking myself the question: is before I buy something, is it a leader? So I've got that. I'll put that permanently on top of my monitor here. Is it a leader? Just got to be asking ourselves that question there, because we shouldn't really be sort of trading down the bottom here, I think. So just want to see the stocks that are showing strength there. So
that's a good reminder to have on top of your monitor, and probably a fair setup to say, is it a leader? Well, of the next 30 companies that you're looking at, momentum leaders, is it fair to say most of them would be a market leader?
Yeah, so these have been running for a while here. So I think E&B was number 4 on the list there. So we talked about this one last week, how it had a big reversal and a big volume there. And that was, I think, at the stage I said, that you don't want to see that big reversal bar come in pretty hard there. So that one there, obviously E&B has gone a bit lower. Yeah, I think PAA was the other one there. We talked about that big reversal bar, big volume as well. And that's a bit of a no. So you can sort of see they've sort of wound back a bit here. So that's what we sort of don't want to see. BOC's had that big spike, come back pretty deep, and then sort of start building again. So that's interesting here. It's probably a bit of a watch for me. DCC is another one just to sort of wait on there. Bit of a cup and handle, big break through the top there, and then had a run here, big volume again. I probably want to see a bit of a pause there. It's probably too small for me personally. At 360, we sort of talked about, sort of coming out there, sort of, consecutive high lows, a little bit of a VCP pattern there, breaking out, get a big gap up and run here. So again, it's just those quality sort of stocks there are pushing on there. So they're sort of leading names, stocks with a sort of higher, revenue and sort of earnings sort of growth there. So, I've sort of seen quite a few of those stocks that have sort of had strong revenue in the past there, but maybe moving towards sort of break even, getting to the profitable stage there. That's sort of a company like, that's what the market likes to see those. So we're seeing, 0 and 360, that type of stock, kind of really sort of warm to the market there. So, BRE is sort of one that was at an RPO there, Chris, has sort of had that really strong run, broke the B wave around that sort of 185 mark there, and then kicked on to 290. Going through a bit of a pause here. The one thing we're not seeing here after this run is, we saw the 1 day selling here. Not much selling following through, had a bit of a bounce again. And look at this 1, 2, 3, 4 days down here. No selling here still. So really, even though the stock's had a fantastic run here, we're not seeing any aggressive selling whatsoever. we've seen here the last couple of days, the volumes come back in again. So this is still at a pretty robust position now. That's pretty early. It looks a little extended here, but we are not seeing any signs of selling here so far for that stock here. So that does look pretty constructive to me. What else we got there? GWS. This is a bit of a watch for me, bit of a small one there, but had a pretty nice run there. Guess a bit of a VCP there. Did get above the 50 and then sort of broke through it, kind of B wave. And it has sort of kicked on since then. So probably just got to watch this one now, see if it has a bit of a pause. He also stayed pretty firm here. But that's what I mean by sort of these stocks here. They run a bit tight. You see the 1 day selling here, you don't see any more selling. You see a little bit of strength there. You see the selling dry up here again, and then they pop again. Even here, we've seen 1 day selling here again. Just consolidate here, and then look, 2 or 3 days here, no selling comes in, and what happens? The stock pops again. So that's what I mean by those sort of stocks there. Those are the stocks that are leading and having a really strong run there. Once they sort of they're popping and stuff there. Once they go for a bit of a retreat there, you've got to watch the sort of volume profile there. Keep seeing the same profile for the ones that make the quarterly list there. So and the profile there is that when they have a pause and consolidation there, there's just not a lot of volume getting traded on the pullback. You have that 1 day selling, but then you sort of normally, if you sort of see a second, third there, unless you see a really, really wide bar like the PAA there, where you see that massive big move, massive volume there, that's a bit of a tell. But normally you just sort of see it pull back, some pretty strong volume, and then after that you see the volume dry up again. That's what we're looking for. So there's definitely a nice profile there. SXG. Bit of a cup and handle in here, Chris. This is obviously another gold name there. Pretty strong there. So the whole thing was just sort of, sitting under the high here. So it's pulling back here, high, low, high, low, high, low here, just, pushing up here, and then the whole thing eventually is broken up here. So once it sort of gaps when you're high here, kicked on there. So even just our Davis box, 52-week high here, what was that, over 146 here? We're already at 190 here. So, again, people are reluctant to buy these new highs here, but history shows the stocks that are in those strong sectors, showing relative strength, high, low here, they tend to keep going here. So, seeing lots of strength here across the market here. STP is pretty interesting here. This one here is a bit of I'd be pretty cautious here now because this has had a pretty strong run, and as much as I love our leaders there, the last thing on the chart here is what we call like an overlapping top here. So we've sort of got, like, oftentimes you'll see the market just sit on top of the previous high. See it set on top of the previous high and gone, and it's got spacing in there. And even in here, we basically left spacing as well. So the strong trend relief spacing here. Okay, the last thing on the chart here is we're starting to overlap here. So starting to overlap on top of the trend here. So you're a little 1, 2, 3 thrust here. So this is telling me here to really tighten up my stop here now. If I was long this position here, that's just getting those little 3 thrust highs there. Just it's a little referred to as broadening top down. That's one of McLaren's sort of favorite sort of sell signals there. We sort of see those sort of 3 thrust sort of highs there. Just they're telling me to be pretty careful there. We asked for a bit of a low. That one view has been pretty firm here. Big sort of cup and handle here originally. It's kicked on there, came back for a retest of that handle, which is what normally sort of indexes do, Chris, when they sort of the index runs to a new high. You normally pops out of the range, runs for 5 or 7 weeks, and then normally they come back and retest here. This is what I was expecting the broader market to do, but that hasn't happened yet. We're still going straight up. So pretty rare for index to sort of be this aggressive, but normally you expect a bit of a retest like this before you go high here. So, the last one there was DXB. Dimeric's sort of, pretty interesting here. This has been pretty strong volume through the dries, and then corrective, big VCP here, dried up here. Then we broke our B wave here, had a bit of a run again, sort of, tightened up again, another BCP in here again, and then then we're broken up here again. So some pretty good volume there. So trend's still pretty positive there. So that looks all right there. That's it for our momentum list there.
So when you look on the launchpad, you were mentioning before that there are a lot of gold companies. Is that this list, the launchpad, the top 30? You're saying this week, what, 9 out of the top 10 were gold stocks?
Yeah.
How often do you see that, Gary?
Oh, I don't think we've seen it. I don't think we've seen a 9 out of 10. We've seen, the lithium catch fire there. What was that, 18 months ago or something? We saw some heavy, lots of names hit the 30, but not 9 out of 10. I think with uranium there, we might have had 6 in there that week when they really were on fire and stuff there. So, we've seen a few. Well, we've seen a few gold names there last week in the list. Of lithium names in the list there the previous weeks there. It might have been maybe 5 or 6 out of the 10 in there. So you see a few more littered further down, but I think 14 out of 15 have got a gold connection. So that, that's just incredible. So it's
Well, let's have a look at the charts and see if there's a common chart pattern or something that you're pulling out that they have in common.
Yeah. So number sort of 3 there was BSX. That's a sort of small one there. Bit of an impulsive bounce, bit of corrective, and then come back through. But I think some of the smaller ones are at the top of the list there. But then we've sort of got some other ones there. What we're seeing here, we're seeing some pretty chunky volume, Chris, with both of there. So you can see some good volume down here. That's Black Cat Syndicate, WGX, which is West Gold. That's had a pretty nice move here. Go ahead, look at that. Come back down here, little ABC, and then look at the volumes coming in. Bang, bang, bang. That is strong volume. So, look at these on a weekly basis there. This is, that's really taken off with a bit of gusto here. So, pretty strong moves there. Now, so some SPR. Again, so sort of seeing that sort of, but these stocks I've held up pretty close, get that tight congestion sort of underneath the low there, and then all that breakthrough there. So big volume on the breakout there. Pretty firm here. I mean, some of the names we were looking at last week, the strongest gold stock we were talking about last week was CMM. So again, that's really punched through. Pretty strong volume through here. Big volume there. We talked about how basically, the stock was struggling to go down here. The whole thing's congesting under the high. Now we're punched to a new high here. So, this looks pretty robust there. Like, gold stocks can, they have it. I reckon they're 50-50. They can let you down. They can look fantastic and break out and then let you down. But then other times they can go on with it as well. So a bit like your lithium shares as well. So plenty of strong moves in there. What's it? F2. Bit of a small one. It's had a bit of a jump there. I think WAF. I mean, geez, look at that. West Africa there. Again, they're just big volume lines through here. Stock here, jumping up to new line there. I think Perseus was one I spoke about last week. This is one that I sort of traded personally. Again, just look at that volume is just so strong here. So it's already gone to a new high here. So they're all the stocks are all sort of moved to a new high pretty quickly. So, so just the whole sector looks, pretty strong there. I think the last one, MAU, was number 29 on the list as well. And that looks pretty good as well. Some big, decent little volume lines coming in here. I think the weekly looks pretty interesting as well. Big, so yeah, looks pretty firm there. So, looks pretty solid there. So yeah, so just seeing lots of those names in there. I think outside of that, I think there was ALK. It's had a little bit of a move there, so possible false breakdown here. Bit like sort of Linus there. I think IGO, there's a few others that are sort of coming up those sort of low bases there. So we saw that some of the strongest, sort of seeing some cobalt plays, some copper plays, just seeing some other, other metals there. So seeing all the metals that have been out of favour are all starting to sort of spark to life here. So, so pretty interesting there. I think, what else? I mean, trying to find stuff here that's not gold is hard. So, GT1, it's small here, but that's probably a small one there. It's had a bit of move there. I think 4DX was on the list. That's not a gold stock. So you got a little bit of it's had a pretty strong bounce in there, good volume, pulled back, started to build here again. You get a little bit of a B-wave break here. Volume's okay here, but not, this is not the main game, I guess, at the moment. All those sort of diversified miners are holding up pretty firm in there. So, again, just sort of stick to those sort of leading names and leading themes there. But yeah, gold seems to be pretty strong at the moment here. So that's probably, we're looking at some of the gold, sort of copper, lithium names as well. Even those lithium names have pulled back here, Chris. Like Liontown there is now like a pullback 2 or 3 days here. Not too much volume back in here. So we're now sort of got our low, first high low, second high low, third high low. So we've got a 0, 1, 2, 3 pattern here as well. I think your INGO's got the same here. Got the false break low, the first high, second low, third high low here. Patriot Metals, something similar, 0, 1, 2, 3. So we just got base building characteristics sort of coming here. So done a bit of work here, So some interesting signs there for some of those diversified plays. Obviously, we've got lithium's jumped, gold's jumped here. So seems, I think, what was it, 9 out of 10 top leading themes resource based? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We went through before recording. 9 out of 10 of the top themes in a launch pad are resource based. Quite something. That is, like, as you're noting, that is very rare.
Well, it's rare for me to have 75% of my portfolio in resources. So if it's rare for the market, it's rare for me as well. We're trading. But look, they're the leading themes, leading names, so they're going to be hot there. Hey, I thought I'd touch on one little thing there around trading, so rather than a trading quote there. Just going to trade around sort of language and stuff that we use to ourselves and maybe use to others and stuff there. This is just more of a sort of a mental sort of I guess a psychological sort of aspect there is that, it's like sort of saying things like, like you say you're trying to be a better trader, say, I want to try and be a better trader. When you say I'm going to try, that leaves you an out. Leaves you an exit. So, we've got to sort of have the right language for ourselves. So, I'm going to be a better trader. I'm going to do it, So, don't leave yourself an out here with your language there. Also, focus on the positives of things as well. So if you're making some mistakes in your trading, don't keep focusing on, what I'm doing wrong. So I'm not going to do this again, or I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to stop trying to pick lows, focus on sort of on the correct, what you're trying to do right. So, whether sort of focusing on scaling incorrectly, focus on sticking with the leaders, selling something to heat, and start getting specific as well. So if you've got your trading strategy as well, be a bit more specific around what you're doing. So I'm going to sell into heat, somewhere between day 3 and day 5. So be a little bit more specific about what you're trying to do. So to create sort of positive rules for yourselves, don't leave yourself an out. Just try and, there's a little bit of that law of attraction there, sort of around focusing on what you dwell on. It's negative or positive. That's what you get drawn to. So if you're making a few mistakes in your trading, and then you beat yourself up, and then you're focusing on those negatives, and you keep telling yourself, "Don't do these negatives." The law of attraction draws you to those negatives. So focus on what you need to tweak. I mentioned probably a month ago, Chris, that I'd done a bit of a review. And there was just a few, my review sort of said I wasn't sort of scaling up heavy enough into my correct trades. And I was taking a couple of Bs at the time there. So it wasn't too much I was doing wrong. I could have been beating myself up there. So all I did was just tweak 2 things, got rid of the Bs, just, so all I'm doing is focusing on A's. I'm just taking A trades only, so focusing on the positive. And the second thing is, okay, I've got to scale up quickly, so try and get to, because I like to sort of get to 5 to 10% pretty quickly. And my aim is to sort of, I've got a really good position to get to sort of scale 15 to 20%. So focus on scaling up there. So just focus on scaling up quicker, but keeping the risk, obviously, everything else. So just making a couple of little positive tweaks into your trading, not dwelling on the negatives there, it's made a big difference to me personally. I just know sometimes as traders there, it's all psychology, a lot of what goes on here. So we just got to remain positive, use the right language, and just focus on the sort of on the positive aspect and the positive changes that we can make rather than the wrongs we're doing. So that's my little trading tidbit for the week.
Well, just to round that out, I might just ask you if this is what you're talking about. If a company, your trade runs and pops and runs up, doesn't quite hit your profit target, but then trickles back down and gets a throwback to sort of the breakout level or your entry level, instead of saying, oh, God, why do I always miss those trades? Or why does it not get to my profit target? Or why can't I get my profit? You change your focus to then say, well, I'm going to now focus on selling into heat. If I do get that pop, I will take the opportunity to sell into it. It might not be my profit target, but I'm going to take that opportunity and sell it. And another one is, so if the market's dropping and it's falling away from you, and you look back at your trades and go, why am I always in these ones? Why do my trades not run? It's not asking that question. You then try and change your focus to say, I will focus on the market leaders. So you've sort of solved the problem and changed your focus to be that solution. Is that sort of a...
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that I sort of do as well is I stagger in and I stagger out as well. So sometimes we can sort of get into a really good scale position, market starts to run, and the whole thing pulls back, we move our stop up, and we get knocked out of the whole lot. And then it turns up and goes there. Something like an 18 one that sort of comes to mind for me. So I'll sort of try and stagger some of my stops there. So I noticed with IGO recently, IGO had a bit of a pop. I got to 20%. I basically scaled out some of it into 5% into that really, above $8 into some heat. And then it pulled back, and I had my stops actually edged up. I moved my stops higher because I was now in a pretty winning position. And all my stops were staggered up into lots of 5. And I actually got stopped out of one of those positions, but at a I think I'd probably make like a 3 or 4% profit on my entry, but it did come back, knock one of my positions out, didn't knock the other 2 out, but then went straight back up again. So you can kind of, bitch and moan, but all I've done is follow my process correctly. I've sold something to heat a nice profit. It's pulled back. I've got knocked out of 5%, but I've still kept 10%. And what I'm going to try and do now is wait for some consolidation and try and scale it back up again. I've still got a really good entry. Both those trades I made profit. So, all my break-even position is both my 10% still in there, still at profit on both those posies. So, overall in a pretty good posi. I would love to be up to a bigger position, but at the end of the day, I followed my process. You just get those sort of big moves so they can come back here. So don't dwell on the negatives there. Dwell on the process there. But, in the past, I would knock out of all of it, Chris. And then they come straight back up again. Okay, this is why I've altered that. I've made those sort of positive shifts. I've altered the process a little bit there. So to make sure it keeps me in the game there. Because you'll find that sometimes things will pull back a bit more than you think, or they might just break slightly below the 50 or the 20, depending on where your stop is. So it's just, you got to sort of say, when that does happen, don't get annoyed about it. Actually go, well, that's exactly why I've created the process. It's actually worked. It's kept me in the 10% rather than me knock out the 15. So could have easily knocked out the whole 15, maybe last year, because I would have had it all probably sitting in a bit higher. So, that's why we sort of create a good process. So just be happy about the wins rather than focus on the losses in there. So, as a trader, you just don't want to fall into the trap of beating yourself up, because it can be pretty easy to do that. Just sort of focus on what you're doing right, and then just focus on improving that and just making little tweaks there, and just having a process which sort of keeps you in the game as well, So, because you don't know that another day, if that can come off pretty hard and then roll off, but then if you don't have to stop place there, the next thing you know, you've gone into a losing position. That's not what we should be doing. If we get a big winner, we should never go home a loser after getting into a right-winning position. So that's what we got to, just got to create a really good process. That's really, really the key there. And then, with that process, you start to learn what comes with it, So with that strategy, there'll be pluses and minuses with that strategy. And as long as you accept that, that's part of the strategy. That's, you got to try to relax, because trading can be a bit stressful sometimes. So you got to sort of try and de-risk it a little bit, try and make it a little bit less stressful and try and enjoy it as well. So that's why I sort of got to stay positive there, I think, with the trading side there.
Well, they're really, really helpful insights on the trading process, the trading psychology, and how to set ourselves up for the success, even if we're recalibrating off failures. So with those insights, we say thank you very much, Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
Thanks, Chris.
Gary's insights just like that, and trading setups. We've got a whole playlist on the right-hand side. And then Gary's talking about the positions that he took earlier in the week. Versus was one of them. There's a playlist of Gary's Tuesday report there. Over to the left is his X or his Twitter handle if you'd like to follow Gary. Thanks very much.